Hello, welcome to my second video. For this time around, I figured I would dive a little bit deeper into pivot tables and tell you some of the ways you can look at your data in a little bit more detail. So in my first video, I showed you how to create a pivot table from a raw data set, and this one I want to show you a little bit of how you might filter that data and analyze it a little bit further. So let's dive right in. We'll go right to our demo files folder. And today we're going to use an actual Excel file called random people data. Now, before anybody is concerned that we might have somebody's information out here, let me assure you this is completely random data. This is data I generated using some of the random functions within Excel. So this doesn't relate to anybody, any type of demographic or anything like that. What I tried to do is simulate what would happen if I was going out and conducting a salary survey. And we were trying to get what people's average annual salary is and some background information which might relate to that salary. Whether that's, their age, so when they were born, their gender, level of education, whether or not they're married, number of children they might have, access to the internet, whether or not they own a cell phone, where they might access a computer, and whether or not they participate in a retirement plan. So some of these things either might influence your salary, or some of these things might only be able to be done at a certain salary. So let's start by creating a pivot table. And so we're going to do like we did before and select all our data. We'll either do Command Shift or Control Shift, right arrow to select all our headings, and then down arrow to select all our rows. We'll go to Insert, Pivot Table, and again we're just going to use the default settings. So we could just do this for male, female, but that'd be kind of boring, not really interesting. So maybe what we want to do is we want to look more at like education. So we want to look at what our education levels are. Then maybe what we're interested in is annual salary. So now, if you notice, the salary information is a little hard to see, and it's also summarized. So rather than tell me what the average salary for somebody with an elementary education is, it's telling me that there is $34 million in total annual salaries for people with an elementary education. And also it's kind of hard to see that's $34 million because it's just a bunch of numbers with a decimal point. So we want to do a little formatting here. So we hit our little I button here. And first thing we want to do is we want to summarize it by an average. We want to know what the average person with that level of education would make a year. And then we also want to be able to look at it as actual currency-based data. So we go to our number type. We can either use currency or accounting, whichever you like, whichever you prefer. I like accounting just because it kind of separates everything out across the entire column. And I hit OK. And I hit OK again. And now it's giving me the average salary, and it shows me as an actual dollar value. So it's a little bit easier to see. Some of the other things we might want to do, because right now we're just looking at this for everybody who responded. We might want to look at this for different things. So maybe we want to look at it by gender. So one of the things we can do is we can use what's called a filter. So we go to gender, we put that in filters. Right now it's all. It's showing us everybody. If we use our little drop down here, we might say, all right, well, I'm only interested in men. So I deselect women, and now it shows me what my average salary is for just men. Maybe I'm only interested in women, so I reselect women and deselect men. It's easy to do. It's an easy filter. But this might be something I'm interested in because I'm looking at average salary by education by gender. So rather than have a filter, maybe instead of that, I'm going to make this my column headings. So there, very quickly, very easily, I was able to kind of pull a few pieces of information, and now I can report back on based on the level of school they have, whether it's elementary, a graduate degree, high school, middle school, trade school, or undergraduate degree, what their expected annual or their average annual salary is by whether they're male or female. So that's one way to look at the data, but maybe I'm interested in looking at how some of these other factors play into it. So I could add more filters if I want, but one of the things I could do that's really interesting is add what are called slicers. So when I go and choose Insert Slicer, it gives me different options. So I can, again, I already got sex, I've already got education, and I've already got salary. So those are three things I don't want to select. And actually, Excel won't give me them anyway. But maybe I'm interested in age. Maybe I'm interested in marital status. Maybe I'm interested in everything else that was here. So let's just select that all. When I hit OK, you can see I have all these little boxes with different things I can select. So I can move these around, I can organize them a little bit. So let's kind of move things and try to group things together. So one of the things that, the way I'm thinking about the data anyway, is obviously age is one thing that's kind of by itself. You are what you are. You're as old as you were. You can't really change that. But the next two, marital status and children, I think those are kind of related. Not that you have to be married to have children, or that the number of children relates to whether or not you get divorced, but, you know, they're families. It's whether or not you have family to take care of. The next three are kind of related as well, because I think of these not just as, you know, the internet or a cell phone. I think of these as abilities to communicate, abilities to access information, to access others. So maybe we want to group these together. Okay, and then the last one, you know, it's kind of by itself for now anyway. It's whether or not you participate in a retirement plan. Are you planning for the future, or have you planned for the future? So it's easy to see that these are all kind of here. You could look at the columns. You know, we could even add some headers above. But, you know, one of the ways I think to make it really easy for these things to pop is to color code them. So we can select multiple of these windows, and we can code them with similar colors, so they all kind of pop and jump out. It's now, just by doing that really quickly, really easily, we see age is one category, marital status and children are something else to consider, internet and retirement plan. So it's as simple as going in and clicking any one of these buttons to kind of sort and filter the data by those values. So for example, right now we're looking at $126,000 a year for a female, $141,000 a year for a male. But what if they're married? All of a sudden your male salary jumps significantly and your female salary jumps down significantly. What if they're single? All of a sudden they become a lot closer. What if they're a widow? All of a sudden female salary jumps significantly over men. So, you know, we can see by using some of these filters, we can quickly and easily go in and take a look at different things. Maybe we're interested in what happens if people only access the internet at work or school. You know, all of a sudden their salaries are much, much higher than the average of everybody else. What happens if they only have dial-up at home? They're a little higher, not that big of a difference. What if they have no internet? That's where your salaries seem to drop pretty significantly again. And maybe we're interested in age. And maybe we're interested in our 40-year-olds. Maybe we're interested in 40 to 45. Here's a little trick. You just hold down Shift, and you can select multiple filters. And anytime you can clear all your filters and come back to normal. So, yeah, that's a pretty easy, quick way to look at your data, and you can quickly go in and say, oh, you know, I can look and see how age or marital status or certain things, you know, affect what my salary is. The other thing I can do, again, if I come in here and I select this data that I'm interested in, I can actually insert a chart right here on my page. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. It's a little easier to see. Let's make the fonts a little bigger so they're nice to look at. And we're going to add a title, average annual salary. So now I can pretty easily and quickly compare what the different education levels and the different genders look like as far as an average salary. So, you know, you might think, oh, that's great, you know, I got one chart, but what's really great is as I change my data, my chart changes. Now, it's a little hard to see, so let's just do one other trick here. Let's format our axis. And let's put in a maximum 500,000. So now our axis should stay the same, so we can see how things grow or shrink over time. So it looks like married people without the internet have amongst the lowest salaries. So married people need that escape. Anyway, what I hope this showed you was a quick and easy way to not only create a pivot table, but to do some analyses with that pivot table to generate a chart that you can easily put into any report. It took us a few minutes to get the data into the pivot table, establish our slicers, and to use those to do some quick and dirty analyses. So if we're trying to report back to somebody what are the key factors in salary, we can go through and select one, multiple of different factors and report back. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to my channel and look for future videos. Thank you.